told her, I asked her, I told her, I told her to leave me alone. That's what I've done, just what she's done. And a house built for two in a home when it's lived in by one lonely one. And I can no longer hear footsteps come right down the hall. Here come the teardrops, bitter they are, harder they fall. She caught me lying, then she caught a train, and I caught a fever. Walking home in the rain. Oh, yeah. But it's over. I'm done. She left me once and for all. Here come the teardrops, bitter they are, harder they fall. Here come the teardrops, bitter they are, harder they fall. Ooh. I asked her to leave me alone. That's not what it is. I told her. I told her to leave me alone. That's what she's done. Just what she's done. And a house built for two just isn't a home when it's lived in by one, oh, one lonely one. And I can no longer hear footsteps. Yeah, I know, silver mine card.
I'm not saying I'm a singer, but I can't play the music without YouTube doing something. So just trying to kill time while people come on. Yeah, that's too bad, but the stock prices are here, so I can't see them. I guess I could try. Well, I'll just sign in over here. But not a lot of activity in any of the usual suspects. I do think, we're just ever where we are, waiting. And I think some of us, me included, I'm just older now. We want to be told what we want to hear, and we want to believe how we've got it sussed, but it's not always that way. And kindly, I point out that GME was pushed up on rumor of news, crappy news. It was all crap. But it ran up. It ran up $3-4. Guess what they did? They raised $1 billion. How many more times do they have to do that where you can't figure out the GME's under control and they're using you? Not you individually, if you're hearing me talking to you, just talking to the collective us, the ones that say sucker across our forehead. I mean, even if Cohen put $3 billion into Bitcoin, he's got to make that stock, that Bitcoin has to go up by, I don't know, 7x to make $25 worthwhile, 8x to make it worthwhile, 10x to make it profitable. Why don't you just go buy Bitcoin? But they put it out there because it's buzz, it's hum, there's movement. Oh my gosh, it's moving. I got to get in. There's going to be a squeeze. And then Cohen crosses it. I don't know. We don't see it. You know why we don't see it? Because we still think the market is honest. We still think there's somebody that's making sure that it's a level playing field. We still expect someone to rescue us. And it's just not that way. It's just not that way. This is the biggest skimming job for a handful of men I've ever seen in my life, my career, or read about, ever. It's just for a handful of men. No one cares. Hey, someone used whatever the thing's called, the private chat. They talked about national security. We want to know. Well, where were you when Hillary Clinton had a server in her house and then sold access to the Secretary of State? Where were you then? You didn't care. No one cares. It's just corruption on a huge scale. And then we have a slaughter going on that is, I don't know how we live with ourselves. I really don't. But it's not the only thing going on in the world. Remember, I don't know. My dad told me I'm no theologian. I said, thanks, Dad. It's true, I'm not. But I didn't marry my mother. He became a priest. Then he met my mother. He almost became a priest. Then he met my mother. some fucking Thursday? Is that how it would be said on Looney Tunes? Hey, it's got a Senator Craig spread going. The Arizona Senator Craig widespread on GBUX. Let me look. I got to sign in, JR, because anyway. Why can't you just sign in on one thing and you're signed in on everything else? I guess that's just not how it works. I told her to leave me alone. 60837. 60837. I told her to leave me alone. And that's what she's done. That's just what she's done. I don't see the spread. Let's try a different screen. I see oh yeah, that's pretty big. Bid 581, ask 633, last trade 585. Volume, don't see that. It's a weird system here. Oh, I see, it's an order. It's to put in an order. I don't want to put in an order. I told her to leave me alone. And that's what she's done. Yeah, very low volume, JR. 3,160 shares. So yeah, they don't want to sell any stock. That's how I determine that, but I could be wrong. They're tired of shorting. Fingers up 1.5 cents at 158.5. GME is now down 540 at 22.97. It's just, it shouldn't be allowed. It's, you know, you talk about pump and dump. Talk about they used to be called stock anyway, Joe Kennedy used to do this stuff. They would drive stock prices up, sucks in all the suckers, and then they sell it off. That's why FDR made him stock. It's nice to have a brain. Railtown's down. Let me look at NIX. I think that was down earlier. Nope, it's up 21 cents, 216. And I think we're getting close to running out the clock on that one. Who do you think you're fooling? That's not doing that well. MLGO is up 1437. Wouldn't it be nice if we hit one of those where they run up and then they stay up for a few days? That'd be fun. CJYL up a little bit. I don't think there's urgency in that situ. And then, of course, we've got everybody's favorite GTII, 18 cents, 18.6. So you have a market cap of $60 million. $60 million.
I told her to leave me alone.
Pretty good, 60 million. Nixie looking juicy. Hello, William, and hello to all the suspicious minding. I must have your nails. I must have your nails. I have never seen a nose that is so ugly. Sir, that is her nose. Ah, yes, yes. It suits you perfectly. This is what I want. Well, Frankie, you do a good job, and I trust you on that. Let's read that out. Looking really good today. We've seen a 45,000 block buy at 210. I think Nixie, something's up. But, I mean, it's just following from their press releases. They're kind of out of time. Well, I mean, what a stupid thing to say. However long it takes, it takes. But, you know, it's been a while. So I think they're going to have to announce something, particularly, I mean, I can think of three areas. They made some statements about revenue. It'd be interesting in hearing some clarity there. But I don't think any clarity on revenue is going to make any sense unless they finally announce the acquisition they said they were going to get definitively completed by the end of the month, which was February. And then, you know, I suppose earnings could come out or some sort of clarity on revenues as it relates to contracts. I don't know. It's all basically the same thing, but I think it's time for that. I told her to leave me alone, and that's what she's done. Yes, that's what she's done. All right. What you're witnessing out there, and I say it with a heavy heart, is that the United States policy, apparently for as long as the death of John F. Kennedy, and when a haberdasher out of Missouri became president of the United States, and the shop he worked with, the guy knew, is it Chaim Weissman? So he was the first president to recognize, well, first country to recognize, as far as I know, to recognize Israel. I don't know when it started, but somewhere along the line, I guess the United States felt guilty about kicking Jews out of our country and then not doing anything for the Jews who were being slaughtered in the 30s and 40s in Europe. We did nothing. So I guess there was a collective guilt. And now the victimhood, which is massive, I mean, it's understood. True victims. But these are white-skinned victims. I don't know who cares about the victims in the Hitsus and the Zitsu, whatever it was in Rwanda. Tutsis, and no one cares about that. No one cares about the victimhood in Cambodia, the killing fields, and you can go on. You can fill an endless list of brown-skinned people murdered, slaughtered, exterminated, but there's no ongoing guilt or power there. But here, from what happened in Europe, there's massive guilt, maybe, and then there's just victimhood. And I don't want to comment on what's right or wrong, because people have made up their minds. But it's having an impact on your future, the United States, and our stock markets, and it's going to be devastating. Because God promised, apparently, to a subset of Jews a very clearly defined Israel 3,000 years ago. He apparently said, look, if I let other people get on the property, Romans, Galatians and Lithusians and Cilicians and Confucians, and maybe Arabs and Christians and Muslims and Palestinians, if they wander onto this land I've given you 3,000 years ago, make no allowance. Please make no allowance for the Ottoman Empire, for Alexander the Great, Caesar, the whirling dervishes, the Persian Empire. Please make no allowances. This promise to you, the very few I've given you. Now, I, as God, have allowed others on there over time, but if I allow that over time, please take it from the other people who I've allowed on there. And if you have to kill, torture, abuse, please just do it, because I promised this to you 3,000 years ago. Well, this is what the Christian right, I guess, in America believes this is going to bring Christ back. The Jews who don't believe Christ is anything more than a radical Jew are on the same side. They're waiting for their Messiah, but it all has to be done from this piece of desert, and slaughter whoever the hell's there. And let's make a nation not for Aryans, but for Jews, and preferably white Jews, and whether they're from Brooklyn or parts of the southern Don region or Ukraine, let's just get this done. So that's where we are. That's where we are. And the United States is not only facilitating it, we're the only reason it can go on. And as much as I had hope for Donald Trump, I think he is really stepping into it by blindly believing the lying, criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. His name isn't Netanyahu, it's some other name. And he comes from Poland or somewhere. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I do understand why Trump would want to have the shipping lanes through the Red Sea clear for all shipping. But remember, from about 2000, the year 2000, the New American Century, Wolfowitz, the guy that apologized, forgetting his name now, Cheney, Bush, and then Newland and her husband Kagan, and all the way through, we've squandered trillions of dollars, making some men rich, killing brown-skinned women, brown-skinned children. Don't worry about the men. I mean, they're just toxic masculinity. So we're not ready for it. We're not ready for hypersonic missiles. We're not ready for a nation. I saw a video the other day. We're bombing a souk or near a souk, and a father's sitting there at the cash register with his son, and he refuses to be bowed. But 3 bombs hit in the street outside. What the hell did this guy do to deserve being bombed? Let me see if I can show you one thing. This is my point. Really isn't, even though I get worked up on it, my point isn't to cause controversy. I want to tell you it's going to change our world very rapidly. That's what I want to tell you. So look at this. This is an Israeli newspaper. Bomb with everything you have. Israel sets the tone. And I guess they deserve it because they hate Jews. But here's what it says. On March 5th, 2025, Lieutenant General Halevi stepped down as chief of the general staff of the Israeli military. He had been there a couple of years, 3 years, and he led the military during its wars. Doesn't war need an opponent? Anyway, war against the Palestinians. Several appreciations appeared. And in the influential newspaper Yediot Haaronoth, one of Israel's most well-known journalists, Nahum Barnea, profiled Halevi. Barnea described the cabinet meeting 48 hours after the Hamas attack on the Israeli border posts. The bastards. And they were bad. I mean, that's terrible. Halevi presented the military operations which had taken place during the last 2 days. He said that the Air Force had attacked 1,500 targets in just 2 days. And he's not a dove. This was a ferocious attack on civilian areas. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu erupted in anger. He began to yell and bang on the table around which sat his cabinet. Why not 5,000? Netanyahu scolded Halevi. Well, we don't have 5,000 approved targets, responded the military man. I'm not interested in targets, said Netanyahu. Take down houses. Bomb with everything you have. So in comes Adelson's wife, widow, Miriam, she gives Trump $100 million. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, a complete asshole. And then you've got Huckabee, who I kind of like Huckabee, but he's so blinded by his biblical interpretation that as soon as there's war in the Middle East and the Antichrist or whomever, Gog or Magog, comes against Israel, Christ will return. What? It's we can cause Christ to return, but anyway, so he's all for it. And then you've got Rubio, who's a little prick. You've got Tulsi Gabbard doing a 180. And Trump has decided to listen to somebody and start bombing Yemen on behalf of Israel. I thought he was doing it to help out the Saudis, but it's not. It's to help Israel. And the next step, apparently, is we're going to go after Iran. Well, guys, however, you can tell where I feel about this. The massive slaughter of human beings that's been ongoing since the Nakba. It's horrible. Treating God's children as rats and less than human. That is not right. But anyway, we can ignore all that and just say, hey, we have this big, beautiful ocean. They attacked us first. Look what happened. You're anti-Semite if you don't go along with this. And I guess that means the Hasidic Jews are anti-Semitic. None of it makes sense. It's all emotional crap controlled by the most powerful lobby in the United States. And we're going down it. And Donald Trump doesn't know better. And that's unfortunate. For all of his wisdom and his goodness and his caring, we're going to lose the world. We're going to lose the world. Putin has given a speech telling his businessmen and women the sanctions will never come off. We're going to go forward with the BRICS. And if we attack, I mean, it's bad enough what we're doing in Yemen. And in fact, I think we run the risk. There's two outcomes and maybe both. But if we attack Iran, we're in a completely new world. We're in a completely new world. Gold will go to 100,000. Oil will go to 500. And the United States will be isolated almost as badly as Israel will be isolated. In worldwide opinion, worldwide trade, and it will change your lives. And no amount of bumper sticker reading, sitting in our armchair watching our TV or our computers is going to change that fact. If Trump pursues this and he's left himself no way out, the American empire is over. We cannot defeat Iran. We cannot defeat anybody. We have squandered our trillions bombing deserts, assaulting mountains, on hundreds of four-star generals, DEI, contractors, wasteful spending. We don't even have a hypersonic missile. It's not your father's military. It's not your father's opponents anymore. It's really frightening. And, you may feel that what has to happen in Israel is that all the Palestinians have to be slaughtered because they hate Jews, fine, fine. Maybe that's the right way to be. But I'm telling you, the rest of the world doesn't agree with you. And it's going to change our lives. We can't fight a war. If one aircraft carrier, that's the other thing, might happen is if an aircraft carrier goes down, American power is over with, I think. And it'll leave us just the weaponry that happens to be nuclear. All right, so there's an article here by Shang Ring. It's on Daily Reckoning, posted today. And it's got a headline in Chinese, which I can't read. But then in parens, it says war. That's what's happening. We're going to war. And we don't have the soldiers. We don't have the moral high ground. We just have a scheming crook, Netanyahu, leading us down the primrose path. If you want to understand, anyway, the title is War Costs Much Silver. If you want to understand why China's next move into silver will shake global markets and put severe pressure on American industry, you must go back 200 years. Not to Wall Street, not to Bretton Woods, but to what Shogun author James Clavell called the peerless herb tea. In the 18th and 19th centuries, Britain developed a ravenous appetite for Chinese tea. By the early 1800s, the British public consumed over 25 million pounds of tea annually. There was just one problem. The Chinese didn't want anything from Britain in return. China was largely self-sufficient. It had silk, porcelain, spices, and it didn't need British goods. The only thing they would accept, the Chinese, in trade was silver. For decades, a one-way trade imbalance drained silver from Britain into China, causing a bullion shortage, which seriously affected British finances. Parliament panicked. The East India Company lobbied. Something had to be done. What was the British solution? Opium. Onward, Christian soldiers, onward into war. Grown in India, opium was smuggled into China in large quantities, and it worked. Chinese citizens became addicted. British traders sold opium for silver and then used that silver to buy back tea, closing the trade loop. The social consequences for China were catastrophic. Addiction spread like wildfire, silver reserves hemorrhaged outward, and the Chinese economy, anchored to its silver-backed monetary system, began to unravel. When the Qing dynasty attempted to shut down the opium trade, the British responded with gunboats. The first Opium War followed, 1839 to 1842. China lost rather badly. Then came the infamous Treaty of Nanking. Hong Kong was handed to Britain. Several Chinese ports were forced open to foreign trade. Foreigners received legal immunity on Chinese soil. The Brits forced China to pay enormous reparations in silver, the very metal the British had once hemorrhaged into China for tea. This treaty marked the start of the century of humiliation, a period which traumatized the Chinese. And silver was central to this trauma. Why does this matter today? That era is embedded in China's national consciousness. The CCP teaches it, the Chinese Communist Party teaches it. Chinese economists study it. And the policy response, now centuries later, has been unmistakable. The People's Bank of China is the world's largest gold buyer. Beijing has built the Shanghai Gold Exchange to settle in yuan, not dollars. Yuan, not dollars. And I'm sure they don't have the paper cowboys either. Chinese citizens are encouraged to buy gold and silver as personal reserves. And now, for the first time, Chinese insurance companies are allowed to invest directly in physical gold and possibly silver soon. Make no mistake, China doesn't view gold and silver as commodities. China sees them as strategic assets against Western financial domination. China also sees gold and silver holdings as a reclamation of lost dignity. Silver, in particular, carries unique symbolism. It was once the lifeblood of the Jing economy, and its loss, thanks to imperial trade imbalances and foreign war, is a wound which never healed. Bringing silver back into institutional hands under state sanction would be a very real historical reversal, a restoration. And if China's $3 trillion, now that's something to think about with finger motion, by the way. And if China's $3 trillion insurance sector begins quietly accumulating silver through the Shanghai Gold Exchange, settled in yuan, and I bet, it doesn't say it here, but I think it's settled physically. It won't just rattle the markets. If China's $3 trillion insurance sector begins accumulating silver on the Shanghai Gold Exchange, this will not just rattle markets, it will rewire them. There's a quiet storm brewing in the precious metals market. Gold just made headlines. China Life Insurance, one of the largest insurers in the world, became the first institutional investor in China to buy physical gold under a newly sanctioned regulatory framework. The move didn't come out of nowhere. Now that's a double negative, and they'll tell you in your grammar school that you shouldn't use a double negative, but we all know what the author meant. The move didn't come out of nowhere. So the move came out of somewhere. It resulted from a CCP-approved pilot program allowing 10 Chinese insurance giants to buy physical precious metals, specifically gold, for the first time. But here's the thing. That sounds like a pitch. Anyway, here's the thing. Gold is just the beginning. Behind the scenes, silver is being discussed. And what if silver gets the same green light? We're looking at a potentially explosive shift in global demand, with consequences not only for investors, but also for entire sectors of U.S. industry. The U.S. economy relies increasingly on this scarce metal. Welcome to the quiet before the silver storm. Why silver now? God, this sounds like a bad TV commercial. Let's get something straight. Silver isn't just a shiny asset that retail investors stack during periods of monetary stress. Silver is a strategic resource with real industrial utility. Unlike gold, which sits in vaults, that is not my vault. Silver is consumed in, you've heard it all before, solar panels, semiconductors, electric vehicles, defense systems, and more. And therein lies the rub. Now he's Shakespeare. China's central bank has been steadily stacking gold for years. Now the baton is being passed to its insurance sector, which has over $3 trillion in assets under management. If even a fraction of that $3 trillion gets allocated to physical silver, the impact on supply and pricing will reverberate throughout the markets. Silver is a tiny market, smaller than many single mid-cap US stocks. It doesn't take much institutional capital to cause trouble. One significant buy from a single Chinese insurer could vacuum up millions of ounces. If he were British, he'd say hoover up. And we wouldn't know about it until Katie barred the door. From gold to silver, the policy pipeline. The People's Bank of China and its regulatory cousin, the State Financial Supervision and Administration Bureau, don't make moves like this likely. Don't make moves like this likely. When China Life made its gold purchase official through the Shanghai Gold Exchange on March 25, 2025, the long-planned effort to channel institutional capital into hard assets was officially underway. The groundwork is already in place. New risk frameworks tailored to metals allocation, investment protocols for physical asset custody, technology and systems integration with the SGE, Shanghai Gold Exchange, a mandate for long-term inflation resistance holding. Silver fits perfectly into this design. It's real, it's liquid, it's globally traded, and it's cheap for now. Silver's volatility and inflation hedging combined with industrial demand make it highly appealing to insurers looking for portfolio diversification and for regulatory purposes. Remember, silver is still classified as a monetary metal in China. The West underestimates what that means, just like we underestimate what Iran can do and how much hatred will be directed at us if we back up the genocide, Netanyahu's genocide. Look what's happening in Syria. He's He's annexed 5 states, or whatever they call, 5 sections of Syria. I guess God promised that to him too. Those companies already face cost put. Look, by the way, we're the same way. We think God shines his grace on us versus anyone in the whole world. This is changing. It's going to change. We don't have the power to back this up anymore. We handed the building of our legacy over to DEI. And I don't know if we have time to recover. I hope we do. I hope we do. And Trump's doing a lot of good things. So maybe he'll realize. Anyway, so when Chinese institutions hoard physical silver, American solar panel manufacturers, defense contractors, automotive and EV producers, semiconductor fabricators, and medical equipment suppliers will be in trouble. Those companies already faced cost push inflation, supply chain friction, and geopolitical uncertainty. That's what happens when you tip over the chessboard. Add a big new buyer for silver, one with political backing, deep pockets, and zero transparency requirements. And what you've got is a Missouri boat ride. You've got a new headache that CFOs and COOs will be forced to manage. For example, silver is essential for solar photovoltaic cells. Every panel requires silver paste to conduct electricity. If silver prices spike because of Chinese institutional buying, margins in the US solar sector could collapse. Projects could be shelved altogether. Silver's high conductivity and reflectivity make it critical for national defense applications, from missile guidance systems to radar equipment. The Pentagon will not be happy with this kind of shortage. If Beijing's institutions start stockpiling silver, Washington will face a nasty dilemma. Either subsidize domestic mining, which takes years, by the way, compete in the open market and bid prices of silver upward, or tap strategic reserves, which are limited and outdated. I don't think they exist. Electric vehicles. Every EV on the road uses 25 to 50 grams of silver, more than double what an internal combustion engine requires. With Tesla, Ford, GM scaling production, the silver demand curve is pointing up sharply. Now, shall we add a Chinese insurance fuel demand spike? You're looking at real supply bottlenecks and production delays. And if China's insurers start buying up physical silver, while Beijing restricts exports of mined or refined products, American electric vehicle production would halt. War. This isn't just about Chinese portfolio construction or inflation hedging. This is part of their geoeconomic strategy. Let's not forget, the United States, thank you, Hillary, thank you, Valerie, thank you, Samantha, thank you, Anthony. The US froze Russia's reserves overnight. The West appointed, sorry, my eyesight, I skipped a line. The West weaponized, I hate that word, SWIFT, the SWIFT system. They turned it into a weapon. China is actively pursuing de-dollarization, another non-word. Hard assets are a hedge, not just against inflation, but against financial sanctions. Encouraging issuers and institutions to stockpile physical metal, especially one with industrial importance, isn't just good risk management. It's also strategic insulation from Western financial pressure. If China wanted to squeeze America's industrial capacity without firing a shot, this is the way to do it. The investor's edge, that's you. If you are a private investor who understands the value of being early, and your girlfriend doesn't mind, this setup screams opportunity. Silver is still under $35. It's liquid because the big institutions are ignoring it for now. That window is closing. Here's the edge. You can front run institutional flows. You can front run policy announcements. You can front run the retail panic when the headlines finally hit. Have you been hearing this anywhere else? Silver isn't going to go to $1,000 tomorrow. It could, but I agree with that. I'm not saying it will, but it could in a if there's a physical failure to deliver and there's a scramble to buy, there could be a short squeeze in silver like nothing you've ever seen. And they won't be able to stop it. They won't be able to rescue the cowboys with their paper positions. But I'm not predicting that. Silver, right away anyway, silver isn't going to $1,000 tomorrow, but a 2x, 3x, or 5x move is not far-fetched if Chinese insurance begin competing with industrial end users in the open market. The world is changing quickly. The old rules where the West dictated price discovery, capital flows, and commodity access is breaking down. China has made its first institutional move into gold. Silver is on deck. When that door opens, the supply available to American manufacturers, investors, and even the United States government could disappear overnight. There's no guarantee that this will happen next week or even next quarter, but it could. But the infrastructure is being built. The policies are in place and the capital is waiting. When the first silver transaction clears on the Shanghai Gold Exchange under this new regime, it will be too late for you to buy silver. So ask yourself, are you going to wait for the headlines? Or will you be ready before the rush? As the great Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu once wrote, war costs much silver. All right. There's one more thing here. I think it's short. Adam Sharp wrote yesterday, silver's 3x upside. Silver is up 40% over the last year. 40%. I was talking about it before that, but it's normal to wait. We only buy things when they start going up. It's $35 an ounce. Now he's saying that silver could triple to $100 over the next few years. I think it could triple over the next few months. But then it'll be subject to volatility and it'll present a trading opportunity. So he's correct in a sort of an investor's horizon rather than a trader's horizon. And I want you to be investors. Silver reached its all-time high of $50 in 1980. 1980. Can you imagine? No, you can't. You weren't even born. $50 in 1980 would equate to around $205 today. If you use John Williams' shadow stats and you use his inflation, he has much higher inflation than the government. I'm skipping a bunch of crap. According to this version, if you use the shadow stats inflation numbers, silver's 1980 high is equivalent to over $2,500 in today's dollars per ounce. 10 times more than what the government inflation rate would imply. But if you ignore the 1980 high, if you just go with 1983's silver adjusted price, where it should be trading at around $500 using shadow stats numbers. And gold, if you applied that, by the way, it would be $50,000 an ounce. These numbers seem high, even to me. I don't know why people get cautious. I mean, if you're calling for it, call for it. Even if we see, he does the same thing I do. Even if we discount shadow stats adjusted highs by 2/3, I always do that. I take 2/3 off any kind of back of the envelope I do. And silver's inflation adjusted prices are still shocking. It targets, taking 2/3 off the shadow stats, it targets $165 an ounce in silver. And $13,000 gold. There's more inflation to come, bank crisis, recession. The Fed will eventually be forced to lower interest rates to zero, starting QE, more stimmy checks. My point is simple and repetitive. Any pullbacks, buying opportunities, if you get them. All right, that's my silver pitch for the day. Being right is easy. Being wrong requires courage. I like that. Being right is easy. Being wrong requires courage. I like that, don't you? All right, enough about silver. You just took down my comment on Pepe Escobar reporting from you in the next day. I did? I didn't mean to. See, that's what happens. As soon as I go over, to, I don't know why. If you put that up, I didn't mean to take it down, Mitchell. I didn't mean to take it down. It just disappeared. I've listened to Pepe Escobar. I listened to several of his interviews, and the things that came clear to me. One, Yemen is an ancient, beautiful country with wonderful souks and downtown living. I mean, it's different culture, but Also, he's not able to walk by himself, apparently. But he said that, the bombing's completely ineffectual. We're not hitting anything. We're just killing civilians. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take down your comment. He also is quite alarmed by what would happen if we went in to Iran. Oh, here. On Israel, Iran, Russia, China, and art. I watch all of those. I watch Scott Ritter. I like Richard Wolff or Colonel McGregor. I watch all of them. I find Scott Ritter fearless. He gets a little hot like I do, so I can't blame him for that. He doesn't like Trump that much. Richard Wolff is more serious, but he doesn't mince his words. And Colonel McGregor has real knowledge, both on the Soviet side and in the Middle East. But the guy I really like is Colonel Wilkerson. He taught at William and Mary, and he also was Colonel Powell's adjunct, I guess is the word. I think he's the best, Colonel Wilkerson. I think he's absolutely the best. He's 80 years old. And then I really like, they're both called Alex and Alex. They're both Greek. One's in London and one's in Greece, and they're tremendous. And then there's a gentleman named Nitsi. Let me see if he pops up. He does a lot of interviews, and I'll listen to anybody that he's interviewing. His name is, but I listen to Max Blumenthal. There's Pepe Escobar. Yemen's revenge shatters U.S.-Israeli war plans. U.S. warship bombed the 7th time. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you can't always. This guy, Dialogue Worse, Nima Al-Khorshid. He does great low-key interviews, but he asks very intelligent questions. I listen to him, Nima. And then Alistair Crook. I listen to them all. My favorite is Colonel Wilkerson. These are all men who are mostly, not all of them, but they're mostly men who are as old as Trump is. But Trump is such a realist. I don't know why he's blind in this side. He may have another strategy. Maybe he's just trying to help Netanyahu now. And then he's going to say, tough titties, it's all over with. But the killing is just too much. It's just too much. And you can't help but notice, I guess Ukrainians and Russians are white. I don't know what he thinks goes on in Gaza Strip or Yemen or Syria. I don't know. Maybe they don't qualify as killing. I don't know. Oh, YouTube took it down because of the mention of non-combatants who disappeared. Oh. Yeah, I really like Colonel Wilkerson. I think he's tremendous. And Nima, yeah. Hey, John. Well, there's a lot of propaganda. Remember, the media is owned by BlackRock. BlackRock is run by someone who supports Israel and Zionism, best I can tell. And the military industrial complex is a huge investment of BlackRock, too. I don't know. I don't. John Hagee from Texas changed Americans' Christianity. It's terrible. This is when Christopher Hitchens makes sense to me. Not so much. He says it's God. I think it's just religion, and it's these. I don't know. I guess people know what God wants. I don't. I mean, what he wants, we don't want to do per se. Anyway, let's look at these stocks. I'm trying to look for the daily reading that I thought I had here. Oh, here it is. I don't know. Did I read today's? Yesterday. Oh, yesterday's is about Christ. I don't want to offend anybody. Mondays. Yeah, this is all very Catholic. I don't want to offend. All right. Let me look at the prices, and we'll try to change the subject. Look, all of a sudden, GTII is at 12 cents. So they just want to take money off of you. Me too. I'm not trading it, but CJYL 70 cents. Magoo is up 360, $15. NIX's up 24 cents at 219. And Finger is 160. And GME, let's see what it's doing. Oh my gosh, it's down 7. It's down 7. The Ark of the Covenant, did they find it? Graham Hancock thinks the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, and I tend to agree with him. But and I sometimes when I have nothing else to ask, I'll ask an Ethiopian about it, and they all seem to be aware that the Ark of the Covenant might be in Ethiopia. I do that right after I point out that Ethiopian women are, I usually point this out to the men, the Ethiopian women are beautiful, which is what maybe it's just here in DC, but I think they're all quite lovely. But then you look at the men, you don't understand. How did that happen? They usually laugh when I point it out. Trump does not like or trust Netanyahu. Well, what's he doing then? What's he doing? Anyway, as you can tell, I can get distracted on the moral issue, but what I'm trying to get across is the opportunity to buy silver before everybody's talking about this. The door is closing. It's just how it is. We had a long time to build positions in silver, and I think that period's over with. And anyway, if you have $4,000, I would buy 100 ounces of silver, or buy a $100 face bag. I think that's 70 ounces of silver, if my memory's right. Junk silver will disappear first, and then the premiums on junk silver, there's very little. I know John wants me to say constitutional silver. The premium's very small right now, but the premium could go to $10-$20 an ounce when it's scarce. I know it's hard to believe. Hey, Akira Naro. I hope we're not going to go into World War III. I really hope not. But there's a series of missteps which, if carried further, we could be at war. And we have our bombers off of that island, Diego Ventura, whatever it is. Diego, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. All right. Constitutional dimes, that's the way you got to be. Well, GME, I'm glad you noticed that middle. Stoney was correct to point out that there was a trade there, and I hope he did trade it. The stock ran up, $5? And you buy the dip, sell the rip, or at least you sell calls against your position. But my opinion, GME still has a Ron, what's his name, Cohen spread, a Cohen premium that's undeserved. And there's a premium in there also because people think there's going to be a short squeeze. I mean, you can't say never, but I don't know. How long does it take to figure out that it's under control? Oh, sorry. AMC and GME, I'm so far down, I'll never get my money back. Oh, you mean in those stocks? Yeah, in those stocks. If you still own them, maybe consider establishing a tax loss. And, I think NIXI, NIXX, has a chance, I'd say flip of the coin chance, that it could double or triple from here in fairly short order. I think GBUX, again, flip of the coin, might give you 5 to 10x or more in a short squeeze type move. Both of those are highly speculative trading, counting on momentum type trades. There was an article, there was an IPO today that got downsized, and I don't know what to make of it. It's called CoreWeave, and it might be as this article says. Let me see who wrote it. Tyler Durden, which I think is a fake name. This IPO is a total disaster. NVIDIA forced to step in and anchor the IPO with a $250 million order at $40. Without NVIDIA, the IPO would bust. So the whole point is that maybe the AI bubble is punctured. And so that is a cautionary item on Railtown AI, but I'm not qualified. I don't know. Well, one thing, it has nothing to do with qualifications. I don't know what they're going to announce, the revenues, the forward guidance of revenues once they complete this acquisition. It's still going to be huge valuation increase. It's just what I don't know. The multiples, like on, I don't know, Tesla has a huge multiple. Still, these AI companies, huge multiples. What would it be in a more sober environment? I don't know that. But they spun off from NVIDIA, a cloud computing company. But Liz Hoffman says CoreWeave is downsizing its IPO and lowering the price. They're going to value CoreWeave at 23 billion instead of 30 billion. It's still a big number. So anyway, I think if you took, I can't give you advice, but you might consider taking losses for tax purposes. And Railtown AI, I think you can make 10x on your money. And then I've spent a lot of time emphasizing silver. You don't have to rely on regulators. You don't have to rely on CEOs. There's no way that they can sign a toxic convertible note. I think silver, you can make 10 times your money in the next couple of years, but you might make it all in one short scoop. And the trick with silver is how much of it's wealth creation and then how much will be wealth preservation. But I think silver can give you 100 times on your money over the next 3-4 years. Where else can you go get that? So you don't have to. GME, Ernest, GME is still giving you all day long a chance to get out of that stock. I know you feel like you lost a lot, which you did, but you've got $20 in premium. Well, you did this morning. Now it's down, but you still probably have $18, $17, $18 in premium. That's going to go away, in my opinion. Take advantage of that premium. Go buy silver, buy another stock, or just go buy some farmland or whatever you want to do with it. I listened to a guy this morning on Rob McEwen. I had never listened to him before, but he made a couple of points about gold. And you know that I like silver better than gold, but gold is nothing wrong with gold. He said that the relative position of gold in investors' accounts worldwide, remember in the West, we only think from a Western perspective, but the relative position of gold in investors' accounts worldwide is somewhere between 1% and 2%. I've heard in the West it's under 0.5%. He said when things get really going, when it's headline news, that ownership will go to 10 to 20% of investors' accounts. So you're going to see explosive price movements in not only gold and silver, but in junior mining stocks. And I'm going to try to start giving you some names in the juniors. I think it bodes well for the stock that we invested in a year ago now, almost a year ago. He said that gold over the last 10 years has given a cumulative annual return of 11% per year. he listed the reasons that the setups there. There's massive government debt, yet there's huge liquidity. There's a lot of cash out there. Your paper currency's purchasing power is in decline. The US election brought in great uncertainty. Almost on purpose, Donald Trump is, and I'm not criticizing him, I'm just saying it's happening, is changing everything, which I think is leadership. But it brings in geopolitical uncertainty. Central banks are buying gold and silver. And then we're starting a commodity trend, buying bull trend worldwide, partly because of war, but also because we're going into our respective corners. Russia and perhaps Iran with them, kind of, but Russia in its Slavophile way is sort of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, but I think Russia's going to have their American century, and they're going to have a lot of allies because they have cash flow and they have extra everything. And then China going into its corner, Southeast Asia. Where does India go? Probably more to Russia than China, but maybe they all get along. And then there's us. So as we do this, everybody's going to need commodities. So he said the big guys, big institutional guys, have cash. Sorry, not institutional. The big gold companies, the miners, have cash now because the prices are up, and they're going to need to show an increase in their resources. They're going to start buying the juniors. And then he just talked about high grade and what he looks for in the stocks, which I'll skip. Yeah, $35. Guys, I've been waiting on some money for 9 months, and I guess it's just God's way of telling me get on without silver. Silver's about to break out, and if you don't own it, we're not going to be in it. That's just how it is. There, John knows. Constitutional silver, most of it comes in at 71%. My point, Giuseppe, is he's playing with fire, and that's why I don't think we in the United States we think it's just like the Irish in America used to do, supporting the IRA years ago. Hey, Danny boy, green grass of home, potato famine, the luck of the Irish. They just send money to terrorists. But we never thought of that. We never thought of that. But the people in the United Kingdom saw it that way. And people in the rest of the world see it one way. There's nobody on our side. I don't even think Starmer and the Germans are interesting. It's like they're supporting one genocide because they were guilty of another. I don't know. It's a weird situation they're in. Seems like bars would be more valuable than constitutional silver. Diego Garcia, that's it. Diego Garcia. Yes, I think bars are more valuable, but David, I just went through this probably twice before, but if you from a distance, it all looks like one move. But the first thing to sell out is constitutional silver. So then, if you own it, you can. Let's say you bought, you paid, I don't know, 2,500 for a bag. I don't know what it costs anymore. 2,500 for a bag of constitutional silver, and the premium could get as high as $1,000 on that bag in a, when it's not available anymore. I don't know. I'm making up the numbers for a example. Well, you sell that, and then you come back and buy the bars. I think in physical silver, look, when it becomes a mania, it won't matter. Everything will sell. Everything will have a premium. But I think it'll be the constitutional silver, the junk silver that sells out first. That's what'll get the big premiums. Why? I don't know. People just want it. I think the Silver Eagles will always do well, but then they'll stratify it, and it'll be what year for some reason. But anyway, the Silver Eagles will be in demand. But oddly, we don't have the purest silver. Canada, at least some of Australia's silver, and Austria. I think the UK, some of it. Anyway, the 4 nines, we have 3 nines, 0.99. They'll have 0.9999. The premium will go up on those. And then there'll be weird things like the Somali elephants or the Australian kookaburras. It's weird. But I think to start out with, the constitutional silver is a good place to start, and then just the walking liberty, the U.S. silver coins. U.S. mint coins, if you buy them from reputable dealers, you avoid the risk of counterfeiting. And it's going to be what people recognize. It's what people are going to be comfortable with. But it doesn't matter. Just buy whatever the hell. Well, Travis makes a good point here. I own silver of all types, but I'll never sell it for currency. I think this is a very meaningful observation. I don't know what the median price for homes in DC is, but there's a beautiful house that just went under contract down the street for I don't know what the price was, but approximately $3,600,000. So it's a gorgeous home with a compound and everything. If we assume silver is $36 an ounce, it's pretty easy to figure this out. But since I'm always wrong, I will use a calculator. $3,600,000 divided by 36. It's 100,000 ounces of silver. Right now, that house is under contract for 3.6 million. Beautiful. If it were in Georgetown, it'd be $12 million. So it's $100,000, 100,000 ounces of silver to buy that house right now. Well, Travis makes a good point. What if this house goes up, let's say to 5 million, maybe 6 million, but let's say to 5 million. Over the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's probably going to go higher, but there is some risk to that because of the development. But anyway, let's use 5 million. And let's say that silver, what price should we use over the next 2 or 3 years? That guy was trying to be conservative at 165, but that's over the next 2 or 3 years. I think it's going to go higher, but I'm going to use God, there's such a wide range. I think gold is probably going to go to 10,000 over the next 2 to 3 years or higher. Silver right now is trading 90 to 1. I think maybe it'll go to 50-50. So that implies I think it'll go lower, but at 10,000 divided by 50, it's $200 an ounce. Let's use that. I think it's going to go much higher than that. So at $200 an ounce, the price of the house goes up. It won't be available because it only changes hands every, decade or something. But assuming it's available, for 5 million divided by 200,000, $200, sorry, it's 25,000 ounces of silver. So the point is, the same house today costs 100,000 ounces of silver. I might be wrong. This could go higher, but so could that. In 3 years, that house might cost only 25,000 ounces of silver. It's the right way to think, Travis. You got to stop thinking about your net worth being in dollars, and you have to treat your account that way too. If you've lost money, this gentleman lost money in GME and AMC, I'll never make it back. Well, then why are you holding the stocks? There's a lack of logic there. GME can get a lot cheaper. Trust me. Trust me. It'll be one of the first stocks killed if we get a correction. NIX looks promising. Yes, it does. Let me see what the price is. It's 211. I'm gonna sign off at 230, I think. Sorry, it's taking a second. Yeah, it's up 20 cents, 216. The volume is pretty high today, 282, although not compared to the average. There doesn't seem to be any news. But yeah, I think NIXI looks pretty good. I think you can see a double in that stock with the appropriate news. To me, the news that would make that stock go up is if they announce whatever acquisition that they talked about already in press releases, if they announce that as definitive and explain to us how much they paid for it, and then maybe in that context talk about I don't know, revenues or earnings, that could, I think you could see that stock double or triple with some volume. Does it then squeeze? Maybe. I mean, this is recruiter.com, which has a huge short position. So it's always possible for a squeeze. My own view on NIXI is if there does come a time where there's a ton of volume, it just might be the time to get out. But then you look at Magoo, micro algo, it's at $15. I think that's what it says. Yeah, $15. So it went up, pulled back, went up, pulled back, and it's still, so you won't get it perfect. But man, does that trade some volume. It's already 67 million shares today. Pretty amazing. All right, here comes John. Who was making that point? Let me find out. David. John knows what he's talking about. Constitutional silver is fractional silver. That's exactly right. And I've made that point myself, but John's correct. If I wouldn't open the bags, do not open the bags. But if society breaks down and you've loaded up your station, does anyone own station wagons? You load up your SUV, put your dog in it, your annoying mother-in-law, and your bossy wife, and your cute kid in the back, and you get in there and you have some food, and everything's gone to hell around you, but you need gasoline, and the price of gasoline is going to be high. If you go up, the ATMs probably won't work. And if you go in with dollar bills or $20 bills, they may take them. But it's also true they may not for something as valuable as gasoline. There may be a sort of gray market for vegetables and massages and eggs in US dollars, but gasoline, the guy probably is not going to take, well, he may not take it. So you show up with silver. If you have a 10-ounce bar and it's $100 an ounce, that's $1,000. You give him that bar and you fill up your tank, and let's say it's $200 because of the premium. He's not going to give you change. He won't do it. He may not even take the 100-ounce bar out of security reasons. Sorry, the 10-ounce bar, but he probably will. He'll put it in a safe. He'll have two guys with shotguns next to him. But that's the kind of world it could be. And if you instead have a silver quarter or a silver 50-cent piece, silver dime, you might just get out of there with very close to an even exchange of value. And if not, it'll be less to give up. The other advantage of it's an advantage and a disadvantage. The other advantage of the constitutional silver is people are familiar with it. Now, if they assume it's just the regular coins we have now, you're in bad luck. But if they recognize that it has silver, everybody will know. Right now, I don't know. But when it starts trading, everybody will know what a silver dime, a silver quarter, a silver 50-cent piece is worth. And that might be the difference between you getting out of town or not. So I agree with John. The coins are, but the reason I wouldn't open the bags is if instead silver spikes and you want to sell it and then buy something with less premium, I don't know what to call it, the customer service, I guess, I don't know, the brokers at the silver companies, they're going to be so swamped and they're putting their own money on the line. They're not going to want to give you a good quote if they have to count your silver. They're not going to trust you to count it. And so if you want a quick turnaround and a good quote, don't open the bag. Unless it's an emergency, break the glass. Silver bars are not, that's another good point. Silver bars come in all different mints and mines, and they also get, depending on who had the bar, they lose their luster, so they get grungy looking, and they don't look that valuable. So that's another really good point. And that's also a good point. Very hard to counterfeit constitutional silver. Could you counterfeit, a Good Buddy silver bar or the Last Trail Mining Company silver bar? Yeah, you don't know. John's making some really good points, you guys. You should listen to him. Particularly if you're just starting out building silver, the goal is to have as many ounces as possible. So I actually don't, at this point, while premiums, you are going to look and you're going to say, what? I'm paying $2, $5 premium? You haven't even begun to see what premiums could go to. I would just stay away from any silver that has an increased price per ounce because because of the picture on the silver, or because it's a small batch, or it's I don't know, it's got a picture of Kim Kardashian's butt on it. I don't know. Don't pay premiums like that. Right now, build your position, get as much silver as possible. So David is thanking you, John, and I agree. That's great information John has said. There you go, Justin. There you go. I forget what SMI stands for. It looks familiar. SMI. I forget what it stands for, but that's great. I have mixed feelings about DC, although I no longer live in my house, which I lost. One of the reasons I established where I was, it was, 4,000 square feet of brick. Yes, admittedly, you could look at it as a target, but I knew everybody in my neighborhood. Worst case, you could probably put people up on the roofs. But the biggest thing is, I think if things go to nightmare, the National Guard Marines would surround the White House and all of the embassy, all of the government buildings. And where I lived before would be inside of that. I'm not sure about where I am now. I'm not sure I'm inside of that parameter. So I don't know. Yeah, you might be right. Silver bars are the safest bet. Coins are easily faked. All silver coins, in your opinion. Yeah. That's another reason, by the way, not to open the boxes. If you buy, so we're talking about a couple of different things. As an investment, when you buy it and it's sealed, if you send it back and you haven't tampered with the scanning, with the barcode and the seal, you're fine. They'll know it's not counterfeit. But the places you sell it to have methods of measuring the silver content. You're just talking about what if you're out buying a head of lettuce or a box of diapers. Yeah, you might get less of a deal if people think it's counterfeit. That's true. The last time silver went up, there were reports of U.S. Silver, silver coins, supposedly U.S. silver coins being counterfeited out of China. I don't know if the news was real or not, but I remember that happened. Yeah, sunshine. That's it. Sunshine. Sunshine. Yep. I used to own some. I might still have the odd one or not. I had to sell all my silver. I wish I had bought Bitcoin instead. Yeah, I need a haircut. That's true. But I'm a long way from my barber, and I'll try to get it done. You are right about that. I need a haircut. Maybe I should get it. Maybe I should get it just buzzed off. Then I'd look terrible. But I've always been self-conscious of how I look after a haircut. Oh my gosh. I don't trust the daily hate. So I'm not going to repeat that news, but war, war, war. It's all war. So Djokovic plays today at 4:30 in the heat. He was supposed to play last night, and they kept the players from 4 all the way till 11:30 or 11:15, and then they canceled. It's so unfair. See, the Supreme Court is not conservative. There's no such thing as a conservative woman. Supreme Court rules 7-2 to back up Biden's gun regulation. Only Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito dissented. So it's not just the women, it's the guys too. I don't know the issue. I do not know the issue. Um, okay, let's see. NATO threatens war. It's not good. What else would be a good source of potential information to share with you? Let's see what else is here. I agree with you, Hawkeye. I need a haircut. I do agree with you. Yeah, I think overseas there is a problem with counterfeit. I don't think there really is in the United States. But there will be when there's a huge premium, there will be. Wow. States are working to make gold and silver alternatives to the US dollar. Gold surges back to record highs as Goldman Sachs and Bank of America increase their price targets. Brave men and women. It's boring. They're boring and disturbing headlines. So what I'll try to do is come up with some miners because we're as soon as silver runs, we'll have to shift to trying to find stocks. It's always that way. It's the cycle. And retail usually gets into the stocks, not into the deals. There's a lot of headlines on gold and silver. This is interesting. I don't believe this. This guy His name is Smith. They don't give his first name. That's great. Anyway, he's saying that Trump administration is going to reset the price of gold. Maybe, but I don't know. All right. Will Underdown. When finger or GBUX hits, and yeah. Go get my haircut. GBUX looks interesting right now too. What Ham said the day before yesterday, that GBUX could have a high target. Yeah, it's hard to get your money back after after you've already sent it. All right, so it's 2:30, and I think that's where I'm going to end it today. Let me just see if there's any news to end it on. Nope. Elise Stefanik's not going to be UN ambassador. All right, I'm going to end it right there. I can't think of anything else to say. So we'll talk to you, maybe not tomorrow. I don't know. It depends on how it goes. But sometime in the near future, we'll talk again. See, John knows what he's talking about. You have to make friends with your local coin store. And platinum and palladium are also worthwhile items. I don't think they come in coins, but anyway. All right, peace to everyone, and peace to all the children in the world, and we'll talk later. Ciao.